Hey, what's up, guys? Min here from Dental Tech Tips, and today we have our very first episode of Dental Tech Talks. It's an interview podcast style show where we get to sit down and chat with people from the industry. So today we have joining us a couple of very dear friends of mine, Greg Harris, president of Core3dcentres North America, and Chris Kabot, VP of Technology and R&D at Core3D. So I'd like to say thank you to the two of you for taking time out of your busy schedules to join me today. And of course, Core3D as a company needs no introduction, but where I'd like to start today is to ask you guys a little bit about the company, how you've been doing. So I'll start with you, Greg. I've known you two for quite some time and have had the privilege of going behind the scenes and many times to get a sneak peek of what happens at Core3D. But for the viewers who may not know or much about you or about the company, tell us a little bit about yourselves and let me know how things are going with Core3D. So Greg, over to you.
Thanks, man, and especially for being the inaugural, the fledgling, the first meeting. This is really cool. So we're pleased to be a part and consider you a friend as well. So most importantly, Core3D is a outsourcing business. We focus mostly or mainly on supporting laboratories, especially with the challenges of late. Supporting labs has taken on a whole new meaning for us. So we've been around 8-9 years. We offer many types of services, but probably what we're best known for would be 3Shape and 3Shape support. We're very, let's say, intimate with the 3Shape team. They've been terrific and supportive to help us make the absolute best of our commitment to 3Shape. Other areas we mill abutments, FDA abutments. So we have validated abutments like Keystone, like Toman, like BioHorizon, things like that. And also, of course, the very, very popular brands of Straumann and Nobel and all the other companies. Proud of that. We're also very intimate with our partners, Ivoclar. And in fact, Core3D purchased the Ivoclar facility from them in Troy, Michigan, which is where Chris is, and he'll speak more to that in a second. But we've taken it to a new level. We took over a business that was sort of mixed, and we've absolutely focused it on Ivoclar products and support, along with some other items which Chris will speak about. But we are doing all of our zirconia and Emax milling in Troy, Michigan. In Vegas, we're doing denture production and abutments only. So like most of you, we have departments now, and our departments are in 2 different cities, and traveling between them is now impossible. So we're virtually departmentalized across North America. So I think the most interesting department we now have is digital dentures. And digital dentures fall into 2 categories. There's the milled ones, where we partner with the Ivoclar folks, and then there's printed dentures. And I think introducing Chris at this point in time is probably the best thing, because I don't know anything more than what I've just said. So on digital dentures, Chris came to us from a printing background, from a materials background, and has absolutely put us in the middle of it with all that's going on at this point in time. And I just want to say thanks to the Ivoclar, to the VITAs, to the Dentsupplies, to all of the folks. Keystone is another very intimate partner in the fact that we've been printing swabs as well, working with their products. So I think at this point, Min, unless you have a industry question for me or something like that, I might turn it over to Chris to talk about what he's passionate about.
Oh, absolutely. I think saying that he comes from just a background is a little bit of an understatement. Chris knows quite a bit. So Chris, go ahead and introduce yourself as well to people who may not know you, but yeah, welcome to the show.
Sure. Thanks, man. Thanks for having us on, and thanks for the introduction, Greg. For those of you that don't know me, my name's Chris Kabot. Actually, I grew up right here outside of Detroit, Michigan. I'm sitting in the Core3D Troy, Michigan facility right now. Again, as Greg mentioned, over my shoulder, we got a small army of, and actually it's not even small anymore, it's a massive army of mills here that are milling, of course, the Ivoclar products out of this facility. But my background really is in additive manufacturing. I went to school as a biology and a biochemistry major. Did a lot of work on biomedical engineering, and after that, I started one of the first 3D printed surgical systems with my friends down the street from us here in Troy, Michigan, a company called Iber Biosystems that wrote all of the original IP for the stackable surgical guide. That was 10 years ago, and now that technology is actually finally starting to really take hold with some of the systems that are out there today deploying that type of technology. So I really caught the 3D printing bug at that point, and from there I went to go work for the additive OEMs at large, and really got to learn a ton about additive manufacturing and all different types of platforms. So when I jump back over to this side of the aisle and actually get to use that technology in a real manufacturing setting, we learned a lot. And I think what we're really starting to see with digital dentures is it's not just a buzzword anymore, it is a reality. But not all digital dentures are created equal. And I think something we've learned over this period of time, really this last 2 years, has been some of the pitfalls of digital dentures, which I think we can get into, mainly on the workflow part, but also, of course, with some of the material limitations. As big of a printing fan as I am, really not until recently have we had additive manufacturing materials that can really get up to par with the stuff that we can mill, of course. Now, I still believe that millable denture materials are more aesthetic than anything that we can print today, mainly because the printing denture materials don't have any type of fibers embedded inside of them. But overall, we're matching the strength, if not exceeding the strength, with the printable denture materials compared to what we have on the subtractive or on the milling side. But overall, these workflows are what dictate the type of materials that you use in the digital denture space. And it is definitely complex. Some denture workflows you can only do for class 1 cases, or maybe only single arch cases, right? So navigating that field and navigating really the types of dentures we can do really helped us sort of expand our business. And we decided to really put in some heavy dental IQ into the digital denture space. And I think it's turned out very successful for us, and we're going to see where things go in the future. But this is really just the beginning for digital dentures. We got to give it up to the pioneers of digital dentures like Avident that really started to bring it on the map. But now with software programs like 3Shape that are really helping sort of automate the digital denture design process a little bit better, we're going to see digital dentures pick up even more. I think the biggest thing that's holding it back would be design, in my opinion. But Min, you're the expert at designing different dental applications. So I don't know, what's your feedback, or what do you think with the new updates to maybe the new 3Shape software, right? With the new version of 3Shape 20, how's your experience been designing dentures using that?
Actually, the biggest update would probably be 19.3. That's where they made the huge one. They did the copy denture workflow, things like that. So dentures has been a big focus of 3Shape for sure. But I'd love to have you back, maybe a panel discussion or something like that about digital dentures on another episode.
Yeah, and Min, I think from listening to Chris, we went into digital dentures like it was a product. We now tackle it like it's a workflow, meaning we look at output, we look at materials, but we look at input. And another thing, we've had a privilege to work with a very large 400 office DSO group just on dentures. And we've got a strategic partnership with them, and we're producing both milled Ivoclar products and printed Dentsply products. We've then, again, I give Chris his props. He's traveled all over Europe. He spent time at VITA. He spent time at Ivoclar. He's spent time with the Dentsply team. And now as part of development, the output or the solution is very impacted by the input, which occurs at the chair. And the privilege of working with the big DSO group, it isn't the business side of it, it's hearing from the clinician the issues with a try-in, a copy denture, all of the things we say so casually, we have found are not. And I think one other piece, and Chris mentioned it, is design. We're absolute partners with Full Contour. Rob Lejour and his family, his team, what he's done. Core3D does not do designs, and I'm probably not. I'm a lousy sales guy. I'm a little dyslexic. Apparently, I say the wrong things. But we have found working with somebody who does something more than we do is very, very helpful. So our intimate partnership, and I'm probably suggesting, Min, that we add Rob and his team to talk about surgical guides and dentures and what they're finding out, because they do millions of designs. You do hundreds, we do thousands. And Chris, how many dentures have we, digital dentures in total, would we have done 3,000?
No, we've done more than that. But when we look at how we split out our dentures, look, I think that when we're trying to adopt new dental workflows, specifically digital dental workflows, and we try to take somebody that's been analog for however many years and switch them over to digital. Let's say we're putting a scanner into a denture clinic and they've never had a scanner before. The second that you have to change the doctor's or the clinician's behavior, you definitely run into roadblocks, right? And that's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to minimize changing or the impact on the clinician, but still be able to capture and really get the best benefits out of these digital workflows. So Min, you mentioned copy denture. The perfect, I guess, entry level into digital dentures would definitely be a copy denture. You take an existing denture wear, you scan that denture in. You can even do a low viscosity wash on the intaglio if you're trying to increase the fit of the denture. And you can go through a great, simple digital denture workflow. You split out your two files, right? You got your base, you got your teeth, and you manufacture those. So I think that's a perfect way to get into it if you've never gotten into it before. And then you can start getting into it a little bit more in depth. Maybe get into a reference denture workflow, where instead of doing a direct copy, you're taking an existing denture and you're turning that into a beautiful new denture. So I think when we look at all these different ways of manufacturing a denture, it can be confusing, we know, but go look at people like Eric Kachuka out of Windsor, or Dr. Johnson, Andrew Johnson out of Arkansas. These guys are coming up with really innovative workflows for how to go through and capture the patient at the right time and make that digital denture and really set the right expectation. So I definitely suggest going and looking at some of those guys on social media, because they're really active in what they're posting and they're great educators.
Min, I'm going to assert myself here, and I apologize, but so when you first called and said, "Hey, would you do this?" I'll be honest, I thought it was a pain in the neck. What's come of it through this discussion is, I think we've got a ton to share. Is it possible to send a questionnaire out to your subscribers and say, what do you want to focus on? Because I think Chris knows the things. I mean, with carded teeth versus milled teeth, there's just a difference in vertical where the patient is going to work out. A new one over a new one versus a new one over an existing one. I think Chris has multiple sessions worth of information for you guys. I think the Ivocard folks coming with iVotion and showing what that innovation is, because it's super cool and we're excited about that. But Rob Lejeune coming along and saying, based on 1 million designs, this is what I'm finding works. Is that something you'd be comfortable with, Min, to ask your subscribers if we can continue to supply them with small segments of data?
Well, you're kind of stealing my thunder, because that was the end credit.
Well, that's me getting back.
No worries. But you know what? It's funny you mention all this stuff, because like Chris was saying with Eric and all these guys that kind of do create the workflows, right? But you guys, what I've noticed, and again, being someone who's seen behind the scenes, you guys do this at scale, right? So what I think is really amazing about Core3D is you guys are able to take a simple workflow and then scale it up and become a partner for somebody like me, right? Like, so when we start out with a product and we develop, like we say, okay, well, you know what? I'm a crown and bridge guy. I want to go ahead and get into digital dentures as something I can offer to my clients. I don't know how to do all that stuff. So how does Core3D how do you guys, as a partner for like a mid-sized lab, a small size lab, what do you guys offer to a lab like that they're able to kind of use you as a jumping board? Can you kind of highlight that a little bit?
Let me go first and you go second, Chris, if that's okay, because one of the pillars of our business now is 3Shape. We take between 250 and 300 calls, and in fact, I did the math, and the average is 265 3Shape support calls per day. per day. Right. We manage not thousands, but more than 1,000 dongles, meaning we are keeping people working. So what's really neat about what you've just asked is we get constant feedback and we trend line what the questions are about. Were they about crown and bridge, surgical guides, night guards, dentures? Dentures are starting to become the highest interest of our 265 calls every day. So having education in the future, we were going to bring it to Chicago. We were going to bring it physically. I think everyone knows that. The other thing I'm noticing that we've talked about, the three of us, is that bringing it in a small enough segment that the average 3-person, 4-person, 5-person lab can break out to watch, because they're busy trying to make the work that's coming in the door. I think those that are open are busy, and those that are open that are busy don't have time to spend a whole day listening to a course. So I'm going to throw it to Chris first, but I think we chop up what we know and give it to Dental Tech Tips for you to distribute it out. And let's start some, I'm going to say this word, again, I'm dyslexic as a sales guy, free education for your subscribers, and create and get an idea of what's necessary. We have, as people know, we have one of the best training rooms in North America. We have a $100,000 training room full of 3Shapes. We have 12 3Shape training centers for 2 people each. So we could hold 24 people. It's just you're not allowed to sit beside each other. So we're in are you in the training room now, Chris?
I actually am, yeah.
Could you spin your laptop around, or is the room dismantled?
No, the room's not necessarily dismantled, but I'll show you the front. We got some stuff in the back, like a couple of intraoral scanners.
Yeah.
Great room, fully loaded, ready for 3Shape training if we could do it in person, but of course today.
But doing a virtual training in small segments on a specific topic that you take in and put in the library, so somebody can either join in or access it later. I'll give you an example. I'm a road bike guy. And this is going to sound boring, but I have to rebuild the hub of one of my carbon set of wheels. And I have to tell you, I've looked at 50 sites and they all have general stuff. I found one site where this person said, here's how to do what you want to do. And I logged on, and in 20 minutes, I figured it out. I rebuilt it. I'm good to go down the road. I would like to do that for your subscribers. I would like to have it in small enough segments that you get what you want, you get the answer, and you move on with your day. So, Chris, I'll throw it to you, although I kind of meandered through my answer. I apologize.
But that's how you do. You like to meander. So let me go back to Min's original question. No, just kidding.
Wow, abusive.
No, but Min, we like to look at ourselves as a smart source center, not necessarily an outsource center. And with that being said, it's really about onboarding our clients effectively, and our clients being laboratories and DSOs of the like. So when you onboard a laboratory, so many times when we get our first case from a new lab, the data is not correctly submitted, of course. Sometimes the scans look like crap. They're out of orientation is usually the biggest issue, right? And for us, it's an education process, right? It gives us a chance to work with the laboratories hand in hand on sort of streamlining the workflow so that we're setting the right expectation and they're receiving from us exactly what they're expecting. So we really customize our workflows to our different customers, depending on what they're looking for. You know, for instance, if you want a printed denture, well, sure, we'll print that for you, but the data needs to be in the correct format. And you also need to understand that we're probably not going to put a warranty on on that product, because we saw a lot of issues with that product when it first came to market, right? We've done over 1,000 of those dentures. And while it's a great interim prosthesis, while it's a great maybe economy denture, you know, I certainly wouldn't want to put our brand behind that in terms of a high quality denture, right? So we make sure that we're setting the right expectation for the different products as they go out the door. You know, as we've done a lot of research, we look a lot at the properties of these materials, how they sort of fit into the digital ecosystem and really into the clinic. At the end of the day, what's the patient going to be looking for? Well, mainly the patient's looking for aesthetics, right? So if we have a translucent base with really opaque teeth that probably is going to break if it falls out of the mouth and ends up into the sink, well, that's something that we want to make sure we're setting the right expectation with. Now, if you look at the Dentsply material, something that's 1,500 joules per meter squared in fracture toughness out of the machine and 3,200 joules per meter squared when it's in the mouth, well, I mean, we've run cars over that material and it hasn't broken, right? So that's a more premium denture than, let's say, a fully printed denture would be, and maybe it has more aesthetic teeth. But because it has carded teeth and not printed or milled teeth, well, guess what? There's a special sort of workflow that you have to go through. You have to understand what the pitfalls are of these different workflows so that you can educate the customer effectively so that they're going to get what they're expecting. And a lot of that has to do with the input, as Greg had mentioned. So whenever we onboard a new customer, we're always taking a look at the input, making sure that it is matching what our designers can use, our design team like Full Contour can use to make sure that they can design effectively. So that marries with our manufacturing process accordingly. So it's a whole workflow, but we work it out with each customer individually.
And I think too, and again, I'm sorry if I'm stealing your thunder, Min, because I can't help myself. But Brittany, who works with Core3D, she specifically works between the clinic and Full Contour, and her job is to do a lot of that stuff that is almost invisible, but it is the hardest thing in the beginning to figure out. I think having Brittany on with you, Chris, would be interesting. Jason Atwood, who has been a pioneer and innovator, is a huge part of our team. Getting your 3Shape set up properly, getting redundancy, getting archiving. If you're having problems with transferring big files, we're running into all this stuff. He is tremendous at moving files from one place to another, especially for folks on your call that don't have printers. I mean, we have 14 carbon printers. We have NextDent printers. We have a Sega. We're fortunate to have the stuff that perhaps you can't afford. So you borrow our facility and we charge you a bit and you are able to make the things you want. But the Jason Atwoods, the Brittany's, the Full Contours, when you look at the team of experts and partners we have, if we should have probably lined them all up, Chris, right here, there's probably 8 or 10 people that we'd love to introduce you to over the next 6 or 8 months. And if Min lets me do this, I think we're gonna give you some cool stuff.
Oh, absolutely. Speaking of Jason and all that synergy and that file and that input, one burning question I have for you guys is, what's the deal with the DME file? You guys have a massive DME file, and the joke is that you need an expert to put it on the system. So you guys always have somebody call in and say, hey, I need to put a DME on your system. So who's the architect behind that one?
I love them dearly, but there's these foreign guys, over at 3Shape that came up with this archiving strategy of the DME. And in fact, the newest becomes the top, if you've noticed, and then the one that you actually want. DME management should be a 30-minute segment for Jason Atwood. He is absolutely tremendous at it. Eliminating errors with your crew where they choose the wrong DME and therefore the parameters of the mill or the printer off. So I'm just telling you, I hate to become a geek guy because I'm supposed to, just be this figurehead guy, but I would love a session on DME management. I would also love a session on archiving and redundancy. I would love a session on closing out your cases so that they don't clog up your system and you run out of storage. There's all kinds of this stuff that nobody tells anybody about, that we have the bruises and the calluses to prove it, having learned it. Min, yourself, we talk often and we talk about these details, and that the circle of folks we hang with have answers, and I think it's time we shared them with your subscribers.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sorry, I was on mute there. So yeah, speaking more about 3Shape and digital dentures, Chris, can you kind of give me a little bit more of an idea of how you guys, I know we're probably going to do like another episode for sure, but how you're kind of, you have these different workflows. Let's say you want to do a carded tooth put together, or you want to, go ahead, Greg.
Chris, do you mind showing your 5 or 6 dentures, that one overview you put together? Is that for another day?
That's
Or
for
is
another day. We can go in depth on that too. But just from a 30,000 foot perspective, Min, again, manufacturing is going to dictate really the input, of course, right? So for us, depending on what the customers are looking for, we're going to, of course, make sure that they've got the right inputs for the output. Now, there's a lot of different denture workflows that are out there today, and as you know, they're constantly evolving. We try to stay up on top of everything that's coming out. With the new 3Shape dental system, there's definitely new workflows in there that are innovative, right? And same with the new exocad workflow. I have to give it to exocad. Their new denture design platform is very robust. And look, just a year ago, I wasn't able to design a single arch denture in pretty much either software, right? Whether it's exocad or 3Shape. You had to do some workarounds, right, man? We have to get innovative and hack our way through things, which we've all done in the past. And look, I love to hack through stuff, but that's not a scalable workflow. I can go and pull 4 different softwares together and make anything with that, but that's not something that I can teach somebody else to follow. So again, I think a lot of this is going to rely on or fall on the software shoulders. And I think we're just at the beginning. We're starting to see a lot more automation. For instance, let's talk about the carded workflow. If we're going to put a carded tooth into a 3D printed or into a milled denture, we've got limitations, right? We've got a fixed geometry that we're putting into something that's supposed to be customized. So with that being said, you got to make sure you're following the right steps. You got to make sure that you have, of course, the right protocols that are being deployed. But on the software side, if I've got, let's say, 55 molds to choose from, well, if I'm not a really experienced denturist, and if I'm not a really experienced digital technician, it's really, really hard to put those two things together, the dental IQ and the digital IQ. So when you're going and you're putting in a DME file, so to speak, right, we need to make sure that we've got everything set up so that we're meeting an expectation. And with carded teeth, think about it, right? I can only do, if I try to do a single arch case, I've got nothing for that to really interpolate on the lower. And if I'm trying to chew through these 55 different molds, well, I really need to know that mold chart like the back of my hand in order to make sure I'm picking the right mold or the right space or the right shape, right? And now some of these softwares are starting to automate that for you. Again, I have to give exocad credit because I think they're taking a little bit of a lead here where they were able to, after you set your landmarks, it's going to choose really the mold that best fits those geometries, that fits that space. Now it's going to give you a deviation analysis and everything. This is just the start. As we get more and more down the line of automation, it's going to make the design process that much easier, that much more predictable and repeatable. And I think, again, that's all we're looking for is a predictable, repeatable result that, of course, will meet the customer's expectations.
I have 2 more courses to add to the courses you haven't committed to yet, which I think all your subscribers haven't heard you say yes. But anyway, shade. Shade is a big deal to the patient, and the patient's not down with this. And the companies are, and God bless them. And again, Chris is intimate with their development. Bleach shades, base shades. You have to know all these things before you march into your customer to say, hey, let's just do one. And the patient wants a bleach shade, and that may not be available in the workflow that you're considering or pondering or most comfortable with. So again, I think case selection or from Chris would be fabulous. If you have this much vertical and these shades, where do you go? You're going to have to do this. Number 2 is, as we progress with the exocad and Align and all this kind of stuff, the ISO stuff, the taking impressions, we haven't even had the complexity of intraoral scanning on dentures yet. When that gets readily available and people are taking scans in the mouth and winging them over to you or calling you to say they did, how do you receive it? Setting up those accounts, making sure that somebody's checking that inbox because you need one for iTero. You have one for Trios. The ExoCAD, can you send ExoCAD over to the Trios? Because if you want to do, like, it's over the tree shape.
Well, when you're manufacturing something and you don't get the expected result, there's two culprits normally, right? The clinician is always going to either blame the design team or the manufacturing, and the manufacturing is going to blame the design, and the design is going to blame the manufacturing. It's a tale as old as time. And of course, when you add different input modalities to that, it just makes it even more concerning. And usually, I'll say, the issue does resolve in or lie in the input. But it's very easy for us to use different manufacturing protocols and different quality analysis tools to really point the finger and say, here we have actual data that shows what the problem is. Here's how we can fix it. And look, everything is driven by data nowadays. I think Core3D entirely is driven by data nowadays, which has really helped us grow as a company. And I think you're going to see that with partnering with us on different dental applications. Is if it doesn't work, we're going to tell you exactly why it doesn't work. We're going to have data to back that up, and it's going to be a good learning experience for all involved.
And to Chris's point, I think you be specific. Heat maps on Geomagic, where Chris can easily take the incoming STL file and we'll scan the output and we'll compare the two at 50 microns. Am I close, Chris?
Depends on the application, Greg, but we'll just leave the science to me.
That was abusive, and I would like to file. Do we have an HR department on this call? Because I think our viewers are knowing I'm taking a whooping here. And anyway, Min, tell me.
You're always a good sport about it. That's why we know we can rib you a little bit.
Yeah.
I actually have a comment coming in from Facebook Live here. They say, you know what? I would watch Greg's bike show. So I think.
Same.
Yeah. It sounds like it would be a very compelling TV.
I got speed link. I got to redo a chain today. You think I'm kidding? It's right here. And if we were to take this show out to my shop, I'll just say S-Works. I'll say, anyway, I digress. You have now poked the bear.
That's awesome. Anything else you guys are focusing on with Core3D? Any opportunities you see? Any partnerships you want to kind of highlight? Or
I think I hate saying we are very fortunate, Chris and I, to have worked hard at being neutral. So we offer services to all the companies that invest in us. And what I mean is, we don't ask for their money. We don't ask for sponsorship. We ask for help, because help is what makes all of our lives better, right? So VITA, and I think, Chris, if you describe just one of the really innovative things that you and the team at VITA set up for people to learn at home, I'm just so proud of it, and it worked fabulously. So if you could go through that. And
sure. I mean, look, different dental applications, digital dental applications that come on board, as you said before, require a lot of education. So, one of our partners in VITA, they've come out with a really great new digital denture product, which is the Vigo product, and it works with a host of different materials, and it's a really, really nice digital tooth. It's a carded tooth. My personal feelings on carded teeth are they're hard to implement into the workflow, but they're definitely the nicest and the most trusted tooth to put into a digital denture in terms of wear rate. If you look at any of the science that is out there, we've got a lot longer list on the pre-manufactured tooth than we do in any of the millable or the printable materials. So with that being said, it's a really, really nice tooth. It's definitely the nicest digital denture tooth that I've seen on the market today. And guess what? It can work with a lot of different manufacturing options, not just printing, but milling, of course, too. So big fan. We did a good educational course with them a couple of weeks ago, and I think we've had some good results from there. But look, there's a lot of new denture materials that are coming out to the market, right? We've seen Daytax, we've seen Dreve, we've seen Dentco, we've seen NextDent, we've seen Dentsupply. Keystone is a good partner with us as well. We partnered with them on the swabs during the pandemic. While we were shut down for, a month of not having anybody go to the dentist, well, guess what? That means we weren't getting any dental applications to manufacture. So in that time being, we took the same soft splint material that we do and use for our outsourced partners that send us splints. Well, we geared that and our large army of carbons over to printing swabs. And it was a great thing to help us keep the lights on. And during that, 1 month where we were not being able to manufacture any dental applications. So I got to give it up to Keystone and their material science team on innovating some great materials and moving forward with that. What are you showing us now, Greg?
I'm just being disruptive for my one fan that likes bicycles. There's the hub schematic breakdown just to prove that I wasn't fibbing.
Oh, definitely.
Min, I just want to add to what Chris said, though, is that the VITA course was innovative in the fact that they had to become creative because nobody could come and take one. What Chris and Paul and Patrick at VITA organized was we printed a base. So somebody signed up for the course, 50 people. We printed a base with nothing in it, shipped it to the lab. VITA shipped them the appropriate carded teeth. And then they conducted a hands-on online course where you sat in your lab and actually got to place the teeth and do the thing. And then you ended up with a sample, because selling is how all this stuff gets done. By the way, I use the word stuff. It's not the traditional word I use. How are we on swearing online? Is that another HR thing? Okay, so, but that type of innovation, that type of partnership, there's another course, I think it's already filled. There's another one coming up after that, but we want to get information out to the field. And if we do a great job and make folks comfortable, then we'll get our portion of what needs to be produced. But I'm very comfortable that we have some pretty good experience at this point in time, and we have great friends and partners to share with you guys.
Fantastic. Well, kind of picking up on what Chris was mentioning as well about during the shutdown and everything. So Greg, how's Core3D kind of weathered that whole pandemic? And tell me a little bit about more like your 3Shape situation now after COVID and with I know you kind of touched base on it with the support calls and everything earlier, but
yeah,
just go into that a little bit more in detail.
I think we all were affected, of course, by COVID, both personally and by work. And we have always had a great bunch of folks in both buildings and up in Canada as well. We're a pretty big crew. COVID caused us to right size, re-engineer, do the best we can. We went from a lot of people down to 3 in each building during the worst portion of the pandemic and the shutdown. We're in Michigan, which is a tough one. We're in Nevada, which is a tough one. And so we went through a lot of that. We had to be creative. Some days, one day we weren't open at all. We're now at 90% of our sales, but the sales is different. So my answer to that is 3Shape has, because that's that remote, that's how people are building their business. All of our 3Shape support folks are at home now. And they're probably going to stay home for the rest of their career with us because it works well. It also means we can have people all over the country. So we've been able, what's been so neat is we can now hire somebody in Seattle who's really awesome at 3Shape, whereas before we wanted them to live in Troy, Michigan. And I don't know if you've been there in February, but it's a little shot at you guys. So the COVID thing has allowed us to employ folks we couldn't have before, and therefore our team is really fabulous. So we are 3Shape centric. We are not ExoCAD averse. We love the team over there. Again, another great partner. They've been kind to us, but we are very entrenched in supporting the 1-person lab, the 100-person lab. We think 3Shape is the foundation of Core3D at this point in time. Selling equipment, we do. Supporting dongles is what we focus on. Education is what we're looking to do. Helping people make things. The selling of equipment is tough. Sometimes you're better to choose one of your really good vendors, the Henry Scheins and the Argans and all those people that are near you and dear to you. Great. Supporting you, though, I think we're better at that. So that's one thing. what comes from supporting 3Shape ends up being the focus in our mills. And so what I mean, Min, is if we do a really good job with the lab, we end up getting things from them that they need us to do. We're always looking to complement what you already do, and we're looking to complement the people you already have. We always would like to teach you to fish. We don't want to serve you fish. So education means we can help those great people you have working in your business learn what we've learned so that you can start doing it internally. Because it isn't just having it internally, it's having it quickly. Can you do this? You walk over, you put the pan down, you say to that person, can you grind a little off of here? Can you add to here? When you have to phone people and it takes a day and a half and the dentist says, where's my night guard? What the hell? Our response time has become more critical. We drop about, so you know, we're not perfect. We drop about 5 calls per day. And what that means is you probably hung up on us because the wait time was too long for you. Whatever you is, if that, me, it's 1 minute. I'm an impatient dude. Some of you, it's 15 minutes and you're listening to a book on tape. All I'm saying is we're not perfect. We're trying pretty hard, but we are expanding our 3Shape, which we think supports the rest of our business.
Full to hear. So the last thing I kind of want to touch on is Dakima. Actually, they made an announcement not too long ago about their new furnace. What's your relationship with Dakima currently?
We've loved them forever. They've been a big part of the Orem group, the Core3D group worldwide. So always recognized, I didn't talk about my background, but I was part of a company called Novident. We owned Issaquah. We made 500 lava copings a day, and therefore Dakima furnaces, 70 at a time. By the way, I dropped 70 unidentifiable copings one day and was never allowed back into the lab at Issaquah. Just making that point. Oops. That being said, we had taken them on. There was an opportunity to bring them over and start to support them. And what happened was, we were overwhelmed on the 3Shape side and had to make a decision. We just didn't have enough humans. And so we transitioned into it. We've transitioned out of it. And now there is a very reputable, I believe they're in partners with the IMAS folks here in North America. You can still call us and we'll get you over to them. We still have $20,000 worth of components. So phone us first. I'd love to get rid of all those, or you're going to see a big eBay launch by Core3D. But we have always valued them as a partner. We love their products. We just couldn't do it all. And that was one of the things that we had to divest of. And apologies to those who got caught in the transition, because it was a little bit rocky. But at this point in time, I think it's Paul Morales and the IMAS folks here in North America. And Paul's terrific and a huge partner for Core3D as well. And in essence, yeah. So there's a little plug for Paul. And if somebody needs to find him, just ask Min, and Min will hook you up to Paul. Yeah. So you need friends to get through this. So COVID made me value our partnerships and our friends. I think that's a statement. And family.
Most definitely. And you guys do have a lot of
every day on the family thing. I'm a little...
Not every day. You're right. Chris, how do we get in touch with Core3D? And now that Greg kind of mentioned that, okay, we'll give us a call. How do we get in touch with Core3D?
So you can go to our website. You can go find us on social media as well. Everything will get directed to our different partner locations. Like, look, with Core3D, we're pretty much on every continent. But of course, North America, if you click on the North America section, it's going to route you to either our Las Vegas or our Troy locations. Call either. Both will be able to help you get onboarded. We'll obviously figure out which application you're trying to smart source to us, and we'll make sure that we're getting the right data and go through the motions together before we actually make anything.
So, Min, on the spot, can we send out a questionnaire? Is there?
Absolutely. That's going to be one of the things on my little polls and surveys group for sure.
Okay.
And I'd love to have you guys back. People seem to be very entertained at the thought of a Greg Bike show. But we'll definitely get Chris back on digital dentures without all your distractions and everything, so you can really inform the people. But yeah, I'd love to have a whole bunch of people on the show. If you think of anybody that you would like to have on the show, or if you'd like to be on the show yourself, please reach out to me. You know how to get a hold of me. Yeah. So Ed, I'm going to check the comments real quick, but if you guys have any closing remarks, and maybe if there's any questions, I'm going to check on Facebook Live here, but please feel free to make any more statements that you'd like, and I'll just check the questions, see if there's any other questions coming in here.
So for my one, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to tease. I had a picture of one of the bikes. Are you checking questions? Should I fill?
No, Min, I just want to say thanks for having us on. We're excited for you. I think you've got a good voice in the dental space, and people look to you, especially on 3Shape related questions. Been great at creating the 3Shape Facebook groups that I know that I look at daily if I run into some problems, and usually I see it on there. So thank you for supporting not just Core3D, but really just the general digital dental community. And we look forward to helping you out with Dental Tech Talks as it moves forward. So thanks for having us on.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Greg.
This was fun.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So yeah, next episode, Chris versus Greg, no gloves. That's one of the questions.
Dude.
Yeah.
I am a hockey player. It's yeah, no.
He
just
bring
hires
his
me
hockey
to.
pads and a hockey stick, and I'll just bring a laser, so we'll be good.
There we go. And Jason has also volunteered to do that DME show. So I think he heard what you said and said, okay, boss.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll have to get Jason on here to discuss that DME.
And I've been getting texts. The full contour guys are all in. They're looking forward to it. So the Keystone people, the VITA guys, everybody's chiming in. So maybe we've created something here that's going to be fun, and you can get rid of me now and get on with what's important.
Oh, absolutely. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in today. Thank you guys again for joining me. Really appreciate it. Hopefully everybody liked this first episode of Dental Tech Talks, and we'll see you guys for plenty more in the future, hopefully. All right. Have a good day.